This is heavy.
Nick Resty, what's going on, man? It's
Hi.
good to see you again, brother.
Thanks for having me again.
Dude, yeah, lot to catch up on, man. You've been a busy guy, and I've been kind of catching up with what you guys have been doing as far as like the trips and stuff. And I know you guys recently took maybe it's been a few weeks now, a trip for Dwayne's birthday. So
Yeah.
shout out Dwayne.
Hey, Dwayne.
Happy birthday to him.
Happy late birthday.
But Loaf was telling me that you guys ran into some issues and major pothole
those
took out like a
potholes,
bunch
yeah.
of you guys and stuff. But one thing I didn't ask him that I saw that you posted on social media a little bit later, you said that I don't know if you guys got off the beaten path and were going down some big hill or something, and then another couple of dudes took spills just I guess on a dirt road or something.
Yeah.
So anyways, never a dull moment, I'm sure.
Yeah, totally, dude. That's what we always joke around saying, like, we don't really have a destination ever. It's always super loose, but we could have fun in a Kroger parking lot.
Yeah.
So if you get us all together, so that's kind of the situation there. It was a last minute area, and we had a blast. And then, yeah, shit goes to shit real quick, and but everyone was good. No one got hurt.
Nobody got hurt. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
It's like I would imagine like a big group of guys, especially hitting like a big pothole. I mean, you see these like bike races and stuff, like cycle races, where it's like one dude goes down and
They all go
it's like
down.
domino effect.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that usually is the case, but we cockingly say we're professionals, just because, we're used to riding together so much, so everyone's usually aware.
Yeah.
And so Rambo actually went down, and the reason he went down was Brunson was in front of him, and he washed out on this gravel road, and Rambo was going to hit him, so his only option was to lay his bike down, which,
Oh my gosh.
saved both of them
Yeah.
some fucking shit, but...
Well, hopefully they weren't going too fast with
No,
the gravel
it was
road
like
and stuff.
maybe second or third gear, something like that,
Okay.
on gravel, just sliding out.
Still, that's kind of gnarly, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Wiping
there was
out.
some blood and some, concern of a broken hand, but, it was good.
Could have
Bikes
been
were
way
fine.
worse.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
dude, could have been way worse, yeah. Especially with, you got one bike in a truck. Did he tell you about flagging that guy down?
He did tell us about flagging him down and y'all having to load the bike up in the
Yeah,
back.
yeah. Some good old boy was just nice enough to be driving by, and Warren waved the guy down. He's like, "Man, I'll give you guys a ride," like, because Scotty's tire just completely blew out, and he had two other bikes with bent rims, like gnarly bent rims, tacoed, but still kind of rideable,
Yeah,
And,
that's crazy.
like, we
dude.
could ride these. We obviously can't fix a flat in the middle of the woods, and this guy was like, "Oh man, I got you. We gave him $100. He was happy as can be.
Hell yeah.
Y'all just pick the bike up and put it in the back of
Oh,
the
yeah.
truck? Okay. Couple
Bros.
dudes. I guess it's not that big
Yeah.
a deal.
Well, he's got two on each side. Just
Yeah.
pick it up.
Well, hopefully I can hear my dog going crazy. Hopefully that's not getting picked up. You've been a busy dude. I know Born Free is coming up, and I was kind of perusing through YouTube and checking out some videos and stuff. And are there multiple Born Frees, or is there just the main one? Because it seemed like you did an event in Texas.
Yeah, so Texas is new. Last year was the
Okay.
first time. Born Free California is like the main one.
That's the main one,
Yeah, that's
okay.
the one that's based on the bikes and the invited builders and all that. Texas is the best way you could describe it, is like the Born Free motorcycle rally. So it's more like about the I guess the culture of the party, because there's it's 150 acres. So
Yeah, it
as
looked like
opposed-
it was just out on massive
oh, yeah,
fields
it's
and
insane.
stuff. Yeah.
That guy Oliver Peck, who's a tattoo artist, I think he bought the Oak Canyon Ranch, and that's where it's held, and it's giant. As opposed to what is it? No, Oak Canyon Ranch is California, so that is 15 acres, I believe, and it's like 30,000+ people in California. It's insane.
It is
And then
insane.
Texas is Yellow Rose Canyon. That's it, and it's like 150 acres. So you get that many people there, it's definitely not that crowded. It's just spread out, and it's kind of lawless because it's Texas. So.
But it branched off, I guess, from Born Free.
Yeah, so it is Born Free. It's still ran by the same dudes that
Same
put
dudes,
it on.
okay.
They just have two now, and the second one, I guess the best way to describe it is a rally as opposed to a bike show.
Okay.
So.
Just a big group meet up,
Yeah,
hang out.
yeah. They
camping
they have
event.
a bike show there, but they also have other things going on, like, there's a big swap meet in the field. You can
Yeah.
ride dirt bikes on the trails they have out in the woods. There's fishing. There's flat track racing. There's all kinds of stuff.
That sounds awesome.
That does sound pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like if they keep the speed going, it's going to be a game changer. That's going to be the event to go to for sure.
A little bit closer than California.
It's a little closer for us, but
Yeah.
it didn't stop people from traveling.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, we saw Idaho people out there, California people, Washington dudes.
Kind of centrally located, I guess, if you're looking at the continent
Yeah.
of the United States. Yeah.
Well, me and Meeks were talking about it, and we're like, man, we got lucky on this one. This one's only 8 hours from us. We're usually the guys that have to travel far. So
Well, the Smoky Mountain thing is also, is that the closest, like, chopper hangout
Yeah,
event thing?
I guess so. The one that's like kind of grassroots, I
Okay.
guess.
How long has the Smoky Mountain thing been going on?
Have
I asked that already?
I believe this is 10 years. I believe
10
this one is
years.
10 years.
Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was newer than that.
Like COVID fucked a bunch of shit up and made people kind of forget, but I think it's 10, and
Wow.
we've gone
Okay.
to every one of them, which is pretty.
Well, we were talking about that before we got rolling. You're actually not riding to this Chopper Fest,
Yeah.
which is at the time of this recording is next weekend.
Yeah.
So you're just taking a van load full of stuff.
Yeah, so with the Born Free bike, I've been focused on that, so I haven't been able to work, and so I decided to unload some parts, and a couple buddies that are going to Chopper Fest bought some parts for me, and I have to deliver them just to compensate for not working.
You can't put an engine on the back of your bike and
Yeah,
just
exactly.
ride it up there, milk crate or something.
But you know, it's like I've ridden every one of them, so I'll take one for the team, drive my van, and then we can kind of live a little luxurious out there, having a bunch of beers and coolers and
Yeah, that'd be nice.
meat and grill stuff, and
It's just like a 2-day event though, right?
Yeah.
Like Friday, Saturday.
it's just a
Y'all
party.
just camp out.
It's just a
yeah.
party, dude. And what's cool about it is like there's you get there, there's no vendors set up. There's no. It's just the best way to describe it is if I could go to a party in the 70s or the 80s, like a chopper party, that's what it's closest to.
Mhm.
Because it's private land. So if you're, I don't want to say if you're a kook, they don't let you in, but if you're a sketchy dude or, you know, you don't have any reason to be there, they're not going to let you in. And you get down there and it's just hanging out for 2 days.
Isn't there like a river that runs through the property or something?
Right through the middle
Oh,
of it.
man,
And
that's
it's
awesome.
ice cold. It's so good.
be
And you're
nice.
in the area where Last of the Mohicans was filmed. So the riding is incredible.
Really?
Yeah. Like the
Last of the
waterfall
Mohicans was filmed in.
in North Carolina.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's
How did I not know that?
I think Bridal Veil Falls is what it's called, where it like that.
Were they under the waterfall?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right up the road. Like so, you can get on your bike and ride up there, and you could ride under the waterfall. It's sick.
Damn.
There's not a lot of footage of, some of these other bigger festivals, Born Free, Mama Tried. I mean, there's a gazillion videos and
Yeah.
stuff. And I was surprised when I got on looking at Chopper Fest, Smoky Mountain Chopper Fest. I actually found Meeks had a video that he recorded like 7 years ago.
For sure.
And that's like the #1 video. I'm like, dude, why don't more people, I don't know.
Well, it's like it's one of those things. It's like I don't know. You don't want to, not saying incriminate yourself, but
That's
you
fair.
know what I
That's
mean.
fair,
Like it's
yeah.
people are just having a good time.
you don't want to just be like on your phone the
they're
whole
too
time.
preoccupied to pull out their camera and all that stuff. Like, dude, every year I get like 2 photos, and it's like of bikes I like.
Yeah.
And that's it. But it's just everyone rides their bikes there, and they're hanging out, and they're dumping them in the field, and just laughing about it.
Yeah.
High fiving and hugging. It's cool. It's a good time.
Well, dude.
No
well,
egos.
yeah.
There's no. Everyone there is just as cool as the next guy.
Let's see how fast I can get hurt. See how many people I can pile on my
Yeah.
bike and then jump over this fire pit that we
See how
built
late we
and
can
stuff.
stay up.
Yeah. Well, talking about Born Free, I know you've been working your ass off on this bike. And in the Born Free Texas video, you actually did an interview, which is pretty cool. I'll put a link to that for anybody that's interested to check out
The
that.
Chop Colt one.
And yeah, and they actually talked to you about your shovel head that you had built. I don't know if you built it specifically for that show or if that's a bike that you already had that you were just decided to ride to that.
Yeah.
But in that video, you were talking about getting the engine to fit in the VL frame.
Yeah.
I think if that's
Yeah,
correct.
We did watch that.
And I've also built another bike with a VL frame. So I don't know, not knowing a lot about VL frame. What is a VL frame and why does it appeal to you so much?
a VL is I think it's a 1930. I'm not versed in this stuff. I'm very good at big twins, but a VL is 34 to 26, I believe. I could be completely wrong.
But a super old frame.
It's super early, but those frames have this line to them. They're single down tube, and they
Like in the
curve.
front, there's
Yes.
just the one tube.
Yes,
yeah.
one tube, and the backbone curves, and it's got the sexiest lines ever. It's just
Okay.
like when it was made, it was like deco time in America, so everything was made so cool. So a thing throughout history was putting a bigger motor, whether it's a flathead, panhead, shovelhead, knucklehead, into a VL frame, and then building your chopper out of that. So you have this single down tube, just streamlined look. And that's just something that's appealed to me. I'd never done it before. And then my shovelhead that I did it to was during COVID when we were all on lockdown. So I had nothing to do. I had these parts and I was locked up in my shop. And I'm like, I've always wanted to try to do one of these things. And now's the time. And, made some phone calls with some friends that have done it and got some pointers. And it was a lot of work, but dude, the end result is like, holy shit, this is the look, man. I get it. I get why it's intimidating, and I understand why a lot of people don't do it, but
Seems like a ton of work because the engine just flat out doesn't fit, right?
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
doesn't
you had
fit.
to widen the entire interior of the
Yeah.
frame to get it to even go
Well,
in. And I'm sure the bolt holes didn't line up. or
no,
anything
not at
either.
all, not
Yeah.
at all. Like the VLs are like
What
it's
what
really-
engine was in it?
It's
originally?
it's a VL engine, so it's like a
VL engine, okay.
Yeah, so it's like flathead. So a big twin flathead came out in 1937. The true one did. Before that, they were total loss oil systems, which means like you add oil, they burn up, they go through the exhaust and check your oil. You add more, just dirty, And
You never do an oil change. You're just burning through
exactly.
it.
But you got
What?
to think of the time.
That's
The time,
crazy.
It was in the 30s.
Fuck the ozone. Who cares?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
dude.
totally. It was in the 30s, so like, that's kind of like, I don't know. That was.
How simple can we make this engine? Well, let's not have an oil tank. First of all.
Yeah. Well, the oil tank was part of.
I guess
the
it's part
gas
of the-
tank.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was one of those 2-part deals or whatever.
Do a 2-cycle premix in there.
Yeah. So I don't know when the first time someone did a overhead valve in a VL. I would guess probably the 40s, maybe the 50s, but those guys saw the lines and the look and the weight reduction and all that. And I'm like, all right, I'm sure the first application was probably race applications why they did that, but when it came to customizing your bike and choppers and all that stuff, it's the look, it's a different look, but it's.
Do you
the
see a
look.
lot of them?
I mean, you can Google like a VL chopper, and there's a ton out there, but it's not a common thing.
I was about to, yeah, okay. So how did you find the frame? You've got 2 of them, right?
Yeah, this one for Born Free is the second one I've done. The first frame I got, I was at a swap meet called the Gas City Swap Meet. That's in Indiana, and a buddy of mine, Josh, was selling one, and it was kind of like some dude started to do the conversion for like a big twin, but stopped. And I made a deal on the frame and just had it. I'm like, I've never had a VL frame. Cool. And then it was on deck. And
I can only imagine your thought process of
Dude.
just like gathering stuff. Like one day I'm going to do something with this frame,
Yeah.
or these handlebars, or that front end, or whatever.
well, I'm a fucking nerd when it comes to this shit, dude. I love it. This is my passion. So it's just what I lust over stuff I haven't had, And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, dude, I want to do one of those. I want to do one of those. And then, I did it and it worked out. And then when you have a big twin motor and a VL frame, it like drops the center of gravity down, so they handle insane. Like it's almost like a gyro, Like think of a Sportster. Like you guys have ridden Sportsters, they're very top heavy. This is the opposite, very bottom heavy. So it's like riding a BMX bike with muscles. It's crazy. Like never ridden a bike that handles like that.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Super responsive.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. And they're little, so you're just like tons of horsepower.
Dude, well-
like, no weight. It's pretty
For anybody
nuts.
that hadn't seen it, yeah, looking at the one you took to the Texas thing, the engine is just like, it's almost too big
Yeah,
for
it's
the
a shoehorned
frame.
in
You know
there.
what I mean? It's like, wow, but it really had a cool look. And you talked about doing the exhaust through the frame, which I
Yeah.
thought was really rad. Did you end up cutting the exhaust to make it fit around that sissy bar, or how did you?
So what I did with that was like, I'm not reinventing the wheel by any means. That's been done before, like the exhaust going through the frame to make
Sure,
the bike
yeah.
skinny. But I'd never done that, and I was like, all right, I want to try this. I want to make this bike super skinny. And so what I did was I made the exhaust go through the frame, but obviously, tubing is like that. Frame, it's going to butt up, but it's got to
Yeah.
suck closer. So I cut a notch in the exhaust, flipped the piece I cut out backwards, and welded it in, so it gave it clearance. Like it relieved it to where it could sit with the frame almost going.
Okay,
through
so
the
you cut it
exhaust.
out, flip it in. But does that affect the performance, like tightening that
It
the
adds,
exhaust?
to me, in my head, it adds back pressure, which is always a good thing.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and granted, I was
Like, can I take my exhaust pipe at like a 2-inch diameter down to a 1-inch diameter, or even smaller, and not have like blow my engine.
Well,
up
I
or
was
something.
shooting blind doing that. I was like, I hope this
Let's crank it up and see what happens.
Yeah,
I
dude,
may
it
have just
works
built
great.
a pipe bomb. I don't know.
Dude, it's super responsive, works great. I ride
Okay.
that bike a lot, and it's just wah, just no problems at all. It's awesome.
You talked about being super passionate about bikes and stuff, and I know you've written some articles and stuff online for Lowbrow and stuff,
Yeah,
which I
yeah.
didn't know. Zach had told me about that. It was pretty cool.
Got that in my inbox. I'm like, all right, let's read this.
And maybe we talked about this is the second time you've been on this podcast, and we
Yeah.
kind of talked about how you got into bikes and stuff. But remind me, were you ever into like cars or any other kind
No,
of
man.
mechanical things
Not
before
at all.
motorcycles?
Skateboarder.
Skateboarding,
100%
and then
skateboarder.
just one day, like, I think I'll
Yeah, dude, it's
buy a
like,
Shadow or something.
Well, not necessarily that. It's like I didn't come from a family of people that were into cars or bikes or anything like that. With a lot of people did. They grew up in that life. I didn't. I mean, nothing wrong with that, because my family was into other stuff. I'm into skateboarding, and then when I got a bike, it was Heath Kirchhart getting his first bike, that Night Train, from whatever shoe came out. Like I think the Kirchhart 2s or something. He got a good paycheck, bought a Harley, and then rode it to Alabama. And I'm in front of the skate shop hanging out, just some little shithead kid, and Heath pulls up. I'm like, what
That
the
sealed the
fuck?
deal.
I'm like, what is that? He's like, you got to get one of these. Like, okay. And then him and Ben, I think the second time maybe rode, or shit, even maybe that week, like, ended up taking me to the Harley dealership, and I financed a Sportster.
Dude, that's awesome, man.
Damn.
But I got addicted to it. Like everything, I fully, if I'm going to get into something, I fully get into it. You know,
Sure,
it's
yeah.
kind of a problem with me. It's caused some issues in my life, but fully get into it. And like I rode my bike, my Sportster stock for so long, and then when some people fell off and got into other stuff, and I was just super into it, and then slowly, I'm going to build a chopper. And just looking through magazines and whatnot. I think the first time I saw a cool bike like that was Thrasher, and Max Schaff had an interview, and they showed a picture of his knucklehead chopper, and I was like, whoa, look at that thing. I want to build one of those, and the rest is just kind of history, man.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Like, just getting into bikes, and I don't know.
It's like kind of the same thing as skating. Like it's the camaraderie and
Sure,
just, like,
yeah.
the
The brotherhood, you know?
Yeah, totally. Like as cheesy as that sounds, it really is. It's the
Yeah.
brotherhood. It's like when you skate, like you're a bunch of losers in high school or whatever, whenever you started, that you got picked on, whatever, but you and your friends that skated banded together. You're this group that you're untouchable. Fuck the rest of the dudes. Fuck anyone else that thinks different of us. We know what's cool. This is what we're doing. This is our love. Same thing with bikes. The exact same thing. I've met the best people in the absolute world because of motorcycles. And I couldn't change. I wouldn't change any of that. Like, I don't know a cooler person in my friend group that doesn't have a bike that I haven't met, like, organically,
Yeah.
And it's sick. I wouldn't change anything.
Well, dude, we were kind of chatting about this earlier. I don't want to blow too much steam, but man, it's just kind of, getting my Harley going and kind of getting the bug, get back into bikes and stuff, getting online, and I just surf like videos of like choppers, and I'm seeing stuff all over the country. A lot of people out in San Francisco, and it is kind of a really tight-knit community. And what's so cool, and I was kind of telling you this earlier, is that I'll see like a Nick's Choppers logo on some dude out in like who knows where, who's building bikes but has heard of your brand and like supports you, I guess, and is buying his T-shirt or a sticker or something. And I was even last night I was watching a video of these dudes, Easy Company.
Yeah,
They do they were doing like a swap meet, and it's just like
Massachusetts,
it's
man.
just
Those
them
guys are
chilling and selling parts, and the dude's sitting in his van and he had his water bottle next to him, and on his water bottle he had a Nick's Chopper sticker on it. And I'm like, what the hell? And then just so many other examples where it's like once I started paying attention to it, it's like, oh, that's a Nick's Choppers vest. Oh, that's a Nick's Choppers
Small world,
sticker.
man.
I'm like, small world, yeah, dude.
Dude,
So it's
so sick,
rad,
though.
man. How cool is that?
It juices me up, man. Every single time I see something like that, I get so stoked. And that was my goal. Like, well, originally it was I want to make some cool shit. Being a graphic designer, I'm gonna make some cool shit and then turn it into a shirt. And then I made enough to sell, and then people started buying them. And my whole goal was like, dude, I'm stoked to see, like, going out of state, or don't get me wrong, like, if I see someone in town, like, wearing it, I'm like, hell yeah, dude, fuck yeah.
But dude, yeah, I get it. Like you go to like, Idaho or somewhere
Yeah,
else and you
dude.
see somebody with a Nick's Chopper shirt and you're like, you've heard of me?
Dude, it's like, it gets you so juiced.
Dude,
and
that's
that's
awesome.
what kept me going, And then, like, now I'm like, dude, fuck yes. I guess the whole like, I hate to use skateboarding as a reference to a lot of stuff because a lot of people don't skate and won't get it. But
Well,
like,
they don't get it.
yeah.
Don't worry about them.
But like, I don't know. In skateboarding, you had like Anti-Hero, which was to a core skater that was like the company. You know, the dudes that were about it, like the real skateboarders, like don't give a fuck about fame or fortune. Like just fucking get some. Like, and that's kind of like my goal with it. Like, I just want to keep creating things that dudes that actually ride that love this lifestyle, all that stuff, are just like, fuck yes, that dude knows what's up. That's my whole goal. Like, just to do real shit, not to be a culture vulture, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
to cash in on this fucking scene that's popular right now. I'm anti that. Like, I'm never looking for, I can make a ton of money making this thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be the guy that's, I don't know, like, that's making cool shit that real bikers like, that real dudes that are into fucking cool shit are into. So,
Well, kind of to put a take on that, skateboarding had its heyday, you know, with the video games and all that stuff. There was just like this huge wave, and suddenly it's like Viva La Bam everywhere,
Oh,
and
yeah.
skateboarding took over the world. Are we seeing that with like the chopper scene right now? Are we
Well,
like
I mean,
in a
there's
swell, or
aspects
has this
of it.
kind of always been like that?
well,
you
yeah,
know?
there's always been aspects of that, you know, like,
I guess in anything. But.
yeah, for sure. There's always been like biker build offs and all that stuff on Discovery Channel.
Oh
and
yeah,
whatnot.
yeah.
And then
Like
there's
the
always
OCC
cheesy,
guys.
yeah,
and
yeah.
all
There's
that
always
stuff.
the cheesy aspect of it, but within that cheesy aspect, sea of fucking, I don't know, do rags and you know, like there's always like core dudes.
The
And-
German helmets and stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's some of those are pretty sick, but there's it's like in the sea of fuckery, there's always going to be core dudes, and we're like we could always sniff those people out, and like we become friends with them. And
I just didn't know if like the popularity of like Born Free and all this stuff is just like on a upward trend right now for
Oh, it
whatever
totally
reason.
is.
Maybe like the generation of
It's
skateboarders,
a whole new wave.
a whole new wave of people that are just like, well, what's the next thing? You know, I can't go to the skate park and shred anymore because I just keep getting hurt. What's going to be my next hobby?
Yeah.
Motorcycles. Yeah, why not? Let's get into that. Like that's a
totally, and
cool
there's
thing.
guys that get into it for the whole like the image, you can go out and buy your fucking Red Wings and your selvage denim jeans and all that stuff, and like
I'm gonna give you your Red Wings and your denim jeans back now.
Hey, I love my Red Wings. I've had them forever. But you could go buy the kit. And
Sure.
You can pay a guy to build you a fucking cool bike, and that's awesome because a lot of people don't have the skill or knowledge to do that. But there's a lot of people that fake it till they make it, or just fake it till they're gone.
Sure.
And I mean, there's nothing wrong with not being mechanically knowledgeable or anything like that, or building your own bike, or it's just to someone. I guess it's hard to put into words. The people that wear costumes, and you'll tell immediately, like once you have a conversation with them, that they're not really about this. This is popular right now.
It's just like the new thing.
Yeah, exactly. I saw this fucking in whatever fucking Instagram post I was looking at, and I decided to get into it, which is cool. Like, I'm not going to hate on anyone that wants to do whatever they want to do, but
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess just don't wear the costume and fucking puff your chest out and be that guy, when you're really not that guy. Just be cool, man. That's all it is. Like this whole scene that I'm into, it's about being cool. And that's all it is. Just cool to everyone, just doing what you love, figuring out a way to have a smile on your face, I guess. Like the tough guy shit, like come on, man. There's no
Tough
reason
guy
for
stuff,
that.
Yeah. Well, I think I heard somewhere it was some interview talking about the Haints, and it was like, oh yeah, their motto is they like to tickle each other and hug or something. I don't know. I'm butchering it, but whatever. It was something like that. And it was cool. It was just like, okay, here's a group of guys that don't take themselves too seriously.
Oh, not at all.
You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
that's pretty rad.
You never want to take yourself seriously, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there's aspects you need to, like kids and family, whatever.
Sure. Yeah. Stuff like that.
Yeah. No reason to.
So Born Free 14 is coming up in California, the main one, and you are an invited builder. What does that mean, and how does one become an invited builder to do something like this?
Man, that's a hard question to answer. It means that I'm very humble, so I don't boast about myself or any. I'm still just to me, I'm just a fucking regular dude. But these guys that put the show on really like my style of bike and what I do, So they called me up and asked if I would build a bike for the show, which I'm heavily honored to do. But
This is your first time doing this. I
yeah,
guess.
first time doing it. Because it's like I think 20 people in the world are invited to it.
Wow, really? I
Yeah,
thought there
it's
was more
pretty nuts.
builders.
No, I think it. I mean, I have the list, but I think it's about 20. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And like when you look at it, like from my perspective, you look at that number, and then you kind of like zoom out in your head in the world. You're like, holy shit! Like that reality hits you, and you're like, fuck, I got chills. You know,
Yeah.
pretty crazy. So it's a huge.
Giving me
honor.
chills, dude. That's gnarly,
Yeah,
man.
it's a
I didn't
huge
know there's like
honor,
20
so-
builders. Damn.
Yeah, so
That's
I
crazy.
didn't like I tried my fucking best, and I didn't do ridiculous shit. I built a bike that I would normally build, but just kind of tried more new things on it.
Mhm.
But it's still my style. Still, it's just a lot more shinier than I normally do. And
Okay. Well, I love the fact that somewhere I do a lot of research before these podcasts, so I kind of try to bring something to the table to talk about, not sound like an idiot, because I am not mechanically inclined, and now we're going down this rabbit hole of like doing chopper podcasts now. But what was cool, watching some of these trips where dudes do rides on like show bikes, quote unquote, they're built for a show. And it was interesting to see, and I think I talked about this with Loaf. It was interesting to see in some of these, like some of the stuff I was watching, where a guy will break down, and some buddies will try to stop and help him. But the way he's put together something as simple as like his oil tank, everything's hidden, everything's like painted over and stuff, and it's got this like show aspect to it. But when you really get down to the nuts and bolts and ride the thing, it starts falling apart, or you start having issues, or even like the simplest little troubleshooting things are like really complicated and hard.
yeah,
And it was cool. Like, I don't know if everybody, we kind of talked about this too, like not all the bikes at Born Free necessarily have to run, but I think it's rad that when you build a bike, you build it to run, you build it
Oh,
to
yeah.
ride it, and I think there's something beautiful about a bike that's not all clean and perfect. Like, my bike, I've talked about it a few times. It's like old and shitty and dirty. And then my boss, I keep it parked at my shop, and he was like, "Oh, you're gonna break it out and clean it up?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna leave it just like it is. I want it to keep looking old and shitty. I think
For
it's
sure.
great. It's cool." And it's like, I don't even care if like there's an oil leak or there's dirt or there's like spots on the chrome where it's starting to rust. And he was like, "Yeah, you can get some steel wool and buff that out." And I was like, "No, I'm just gonna leave it.
Yeah.
I think it's cool." So yeah, it's can you speak to that, to like to summarize, like having a bike that actually is made to ride and not just sit on a showroom floor?
Yeah, I mean, all the bikes I put together are made to ride. I mean, that's just what I'm into. That's my style. Don't get me wrong. I do appreciate a show bike, like an over-the-top bike that clearly is not a rider, but I appreciate the craftsmanship in it, and I appreciate the overall look of it. If it looks good, I'm stoked on it. But for me personally, I love my bikes and my friends' bikes. They're riders. That's simple as that. Like, they're gonna run, they're gonna ride. That's what we learned. That's what we came up into. We don't know anything else other than that. But having it, the only thing I can speak on with a show bike that rides or whatever, it's very nice and shiny. That's a tough one. Like like my main bike, my Panhead, it's a black 48 made out of swap meet parts. I built it in 2012. I ride it every day. That's my bike. It is dirty, hunk of shit. Like, if I cleaned it, it'd probably fucking come
Just fall apart.
Yeah, but I love it. I mean, to me, it's my prettiest bike. It's the
The
one.
dirt's holding it
Dude,
together.
yeah. Full of character. Like, all the dents in it and stuff. I can tell you where those came from. Like,
But that's so rad, man. It's like you see a bike that's just like this glossy, almost like a painting. You don't even want to breathe on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. To me, and I'm certainly not trying to diss on anybody who's building an amazing
Who are you
bike or
to
the
talk?
Who am I to talk? But I don't know. It's just like there's something about a bike that has character, like you said. Or
Yeah.
a bike that's like meant to be ridden
for sure.
and not just like pushed around onto a trailer and taken to the next spot. Just
I mean,
to be
I guess there's
unveiled,
so many
you know?
categories of bikes if you look at it that way. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the bike I'm building for Born Free right now is too nice. I've never built a bike that nice. So every time I'm around it, I get it dirty just by looking at it. And I'm over there fucking wiping some shit off. I'm like, dude, this is going to be hectic.
But after the show, you think you'll just rather shit out of it
oh,
and
fuck
let it
yeah,
go?
I'll ride
Okay.
For sure. I won't care about it. And, like, I mean, I'll still want to impress people, but I'm not trying to flex, Like, here's my bike. Like, you didn't think I built something nice, did you? You know, it's shiny.
Tell me about the bike. It's a VL frame. I think we talked about
Yeah,
that
it's a
already.
1932 VL frame with a 46 knucklehead shoehorned into it, and I got the frame from Warren Stoddard, who's part of the shop. He was selling some parts right when I got invited, and just so happened to have this VL frame, and I'm like, I'll take that. But
Well, at that point, this would be the second one you've done.
Yeah,
so you're like,
exactly.
oh, I've got it. I got VLs figured out.
yeah,
now.
I can. I'm gonna not just bolt an engine into a different frame. I can actually modify the frame and touch every piece of this motorcycle. But my goal with the bike, if I couldn't make it myself, I was gonna get. Just to preface, I'm very reliant on my friends. I love my friends. We all started doing this together, and there's people that I looked up to and still look up to in the motorcycle world that I'm now friends with. For example, where was I going with that? I'm going to try to use my friends that make parts on this bike without.
Versus just going to Revzilla and buying something.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to build a bike that I'm not bolting together, but also giving a shout out to the homies while doing. So my friend Pat from Lead Sled made me the rear wheel to my specs. Granted, I had to modify it a little bit because it didn't quite fit, but my friend Massey gave me some grips. Just, here you go, man. Use these on your bike. Fuck yeah, you know I will. Because I'm not gonna fucking make grips or whatever.
He makes his own grips.
Yeah, well, so there's a Massey is like the antique guy. He's got a lot of shit and he's very knowledgeable. But there was a grip back in the day made by a company called Murphy, and they're really rare. I would say like 40s and 50s era, like aftermarket accessory. Super hard to find. Massey's got a bunch of them, and he every once in a while does a batch of repops that he makes. He reproduces them, and they're spot on. They look great. But he gifted them to me at Daytona this past year, and I was like, dude, fuck yeah, that's
going on the bike, man.
For sure. And then I got another buddy in Norway that makes. He's got a company called Alley Choppers, and he makes this front end or lowers the lower tubes of your fork that are shaved down and super sleek looking. Kind of a take on what's called a Barney's front end from in the 70s. But he makes these front end or these lowers. I hit him up. I was like, hey dude, can you make me some for my bike? He's like, yeah, what do you want? I was like, I want them 4 over stock. Not the legs themselves, but the tubes. Like, you gotta your slider on your lower is like, let's just say this long. I had them 4 inches over, so they're longer than normal. And then had those Parkerized, which is like almost like a flat gunmetal finish.
Okay.
And just things like that, like using.
Yeah, you don't see like most of the lowers are pretty much all the same.
Yeah, for the most
more
part.
or less the same length.
Yeah,
you know?
totally. But my friends that make unique parts and all that stuff, I'm like, hell yeah, dude, I'm gonna buy this from you to use on my bike, and I got no shame in that. I'm supporting my friends because they make fucking badass shit.
Yeah,
It's gonna make my bike look cool. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, dude.
Well, dude, Love talked about Powell Avenue just becoming like a mecca of like he's like anytime I need parts, man, I got somebody right down the street. It's not like I'm having to get everything offline, and
Totally.
it's cool like the energy that you guys have.
It's a total team effort.
Yeah.
Every shop down there, Boozer and all them, like, shit, I can't tell you how many times I go to Boozer's shop and I'm like, you have a real good tap. Can you help me on this? Like, he's great. Him and Austin just kill it.
Yeah. You posted recently about the handlebars. That was something that maybe you didn't build, but like a friend of yours built or something.
Yeah,
like
I
that.
built the handlebars.
Okay.
So.
Or you did build the handlebars.
Yeah,
okay.
I built the handlebars. the grips were the only thing that.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
Gifted me. Yeah. But yeah, the handlebars I built what's called T-bars, traditional T-bars.
It's all welded one piece. It's not
Yeah.
like a bolt on.
Yeah,
to
the
top or
throttle's
whatever.
internal, and I used what's called a spark advance on the left side grip. So early bikes, you adjusted the timing yourself. So you had a throttle, and then you had your spark advance, and that's you retard the timing to start the bike. As soon as it starts, you advance it, and that's just how factory Harleys were.
Bro,
It's-
what?
That's how.
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah,
Are you
that's
serious?
how they were early on. I think they.
2 throttles.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
I would say they did that probably till 1965 5, I believe. But so I incorporated that in the T-bar. So it's all chopper, but it has all the old original stock bike functions. So I have that going on too. And
Now, do you have to have that for every knucklehead engine?
no,
You don't have
you
to
don't
do
have
it.
to. No,
Okay.
you just set your timer at full advanced, and you're good to go. Just kick your bike. But me being born free, like let's go over the top here and add
Yeah.
that in there. And
But that's something that had been done before, like on
for
the,
sure,
on the
for
left
sure.
throttle or
That
whatever.
was done by the factory, from the beginning of time. That's how you had to adjust the bike to even start and run it.
That's crazy, man. Dude, you're like an encyclopedia.
It's
That's
like
insane.
a
You go down this rabbit hole of like stuff and parts, and I don't understand how you can even keep up with it all.
You know
what
what's
I mean?
cool though is like our bikes are pretty and they look neat and all that stuff, but they're so primitive. Like they're just the mechanics of them are so fucking primitive. And
But that's the beauty of it, you
Yeah.
know? Like, Loaf's like, I don't work on anything past this date because everything went to computers.
yeah,
And it's like, I just don't want to be a part of that world, Like, there's so much going on. Like, why do you have to perfect the wheel? It was already good. But no, let's do fuel injection. And
yeah. I just
You
love
can't
the
even
mechanical
work on it,
aspect
yeah.
of it. I love everything that's mechanical. Like that's so cool to me, because back then, like, not saying you were expected to know your way around an engine, but most people were blue collar. You're like people that had that stuff. The bikes came with toolkits. Like they're gonna break down. You're gonna have to wrench on them. Everything just there's no
here's an
electronics.
instruction manual, and how to
Yeah,
fix
you got a
it and all that
6-volt battery, and that's it. Like everything else there's a wrench. Like,
Yeah.
go for it, buddy.
Well, that's awesome. You got the bike completed recently, like what, like yesterday or the?
Finished it yesterday.
So
Finished
what was the build time? What was the time frame they gave you? Invite to deadline.
I got the invite in September, and
Okay.
the deadline is, I believe it's June 22nd, which is a Thursday at 4 p.m. That's the deadline. So you get like what is that, 10 months, something like that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And it's like, go, you better finish by this time or else you're disqualified.
Shoo.
So luckily, man, my stress is just, it's been lifted. Like just finishing the bike, and then I started it for the very first time before I came here. I mean, my adrenaline's still wearing off from that.
Well, you said you were kind of peer pressured
I
into
was peer
cranking
pressured.
it, you know.
Like I can rely on my boys for that. Always peer pressure you. But yeah, we're having a meeting, and then right before I was about to leave to come here, Meeks is like, dude, here we are. Everyone's here. Perfect time to start it. And I'm like, man, I don't want to fucking start it. He's like, why not? I'm like, dude, the exhaust is stainless. It's super nice. It's polished. It's gonna blue as soon as I start it. Which it'll probably turn gold and all that stuff.
It'll look cool though. I would
Yeah,
think,
it'll look cool, but me not ever building a show bike that pretty, I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to keep it as nice as possible. Of course, Meeks just keeps poking the fucking bear, and I'm like, before I don't say a word. I go to the toolbox, grab a wrench. I'm like, I'm not putting gas in this fucking thing. I'm getting an IV. They were like, oh, dude, let's do it, and yeah, all the boys were filming. Started right.
Oh, that's
after.
awesome. So I'm gonna see videos of this bike all over the internet. Like, yeah, awesome. Are you? I think we already talked about this, but you're not gonna ride it out to the show.
No, that was my original plan.
Wow. Okay. So you're scared to start it, but you're gonna ride it all the way across the country.
Yeah, because at first I'm like, oh, I'll ride
Bug
this thing.
guts and everything else.
Dude, I start getting into it and like getting my chrome back and all that. I'm like, oh, this is fucking nice. And then I get my paint back. I'm like, oh, this is really nice. But no, my original plan was to ride it. We've done that trip numerous times. There's nothing like riding your bike across the country. I can't even really speak on that. Like the feeling of
The zen,
dude. It's as
the
like
connection with the machine.
yeah, it's as Lewis and Clark as you can get. It's so sick. Like riding an old chopper across country. So yeah, my original plan was to do that, and then I started looking at the time frame and the dates and all that, and I realized my daughter River's birthday is on Sunday the 18th before the show. That gives me, I have to be there on Thursday. Dude, I've done that ride so many times on dialed bikes, on a dialed panhead, and that's 6 days, all day long, with 0 breakdowns. So it was just impossible
Just no
to
way.
do, yeah.
Well, priorities.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And my kid's of the age now to where if I wasn't there on her birthday, she'd be like,
Hey,
what's
wait a
up,
minute.
dude?
Yeah.
So,
Remember
Remember that one.
Remember that birthday you weren't there?
Yeah.
Dad.
So I'm going to have everything loaded up, ready to go as soon as birthday.
All right, blow out the candles and I'm out.
Yeah. Leave that night. Just hit it.
Make a wish. Come on. What you wishing for?
Yeah.
Gotta go.
But yeah, dude, all the boys will be out there too. So that I'm very.
You know, taking a crew, the whole.
Yeah.
So other guys are riding.
Yeah,
I
some
guess
dudes are riding, and then some dudes I think are either flying or taking a van. Either way, they're coming out to support me, which means the fucking world.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
'Cause I can't do any of this stuff without my friends, and I'm not the kind of dude that like, yeah, this is about me. You know, like even though it kind of is, I'm not doing anything without the fucking Haints, the shop dudes. Like I'm not ever doing like, or at least offering it to them. Like, hey, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think almost every one of them's on board. They'll be out there. So
That's it, dude.
fucking
That's
stoked.
super stoked, man. That's awesome. Just to be a part of that crew. And how did you pop up on their radar? I mean, how does one show up on Born Free's, like, to be an invited builder?
I guess
mean,
just doing it a lot, and you know,
social
making-
media and all that stuff.
Well, yeah, even before that, like just making
Or being
cool
in the
shit.
scene, I guess. You
Yeah,
know?
just going to everything. Like you know, we
So,
got
hey, there's Nick from Alabama. Hey, let's go
yeah,
talk
pretty
to him.
much like you know, like oh, there's the Haints, they're here again. You know, because fuck, dude, when we got into this, like it was about riding around. You know, just riding and having a good time. But also, we wanted to go to shit going on to see other people doing the same thing. So I guess it was just going to as many events as possible and just meeting other people, seeing bikes, and then I think I've touched on this too, like where we're our biggest competition. Like the dudes in the shop, we try to outdo each other on a daily basis. So when it comes to bikes, like not saying we're not paying attention to what's going on in the what other dudes are doing in the world, but we really only give a fuck about what we're doing. You know, like I'm gonna outdo that guy. He's my fucking brother. I'm gonna outdo him, and vice versa. So we got pretty known the way our bikes come out. You know, we got our own kind of style.
Yeah.
And it's just from pushing each other, and I guess just recognized that way. I could only imagine. I could assume. You know, I don't know.
Are there any other dojos out there? I guess it's cool, you know, being in your shop. And last time I was there, Loaf was kind of giving me a tour, and Austin also took me there. It was cool. But I think you guys you got like 20 dudes with like different bays, and everybody's
Yeah.
got their bikes up and working on it. So I could definitely see how iron would sharpen iron. It's like, oh man, what do you got going on?
For
Check
sure.
out those forks, or yeah, I like the way you did this, or whatever.
I mean, there's definitely others out there that do it. There's other shops like that. There's not a lot.
I was about
at
to
all.
say, man, it's
They're like-
unique to what you guys have going on.
Like
It's
like Jeremiah Smith has said, he goes, the only places in the world that exist like this are Bravetown and the dojo. That's it. But I mean, there are smaller ones for sure, and I'm not discrediting that because we have a lot of friends that have collective groups and share building space and all that. But I don't know of any that are as big as ours or how Chicago's Bravetown was, and that's who we learned from. You know, we're friends with all those guys. They had a shop like ours, and that's where we got the idea to do ours.
is it still going?
Yeah, Bravetown's still around.
Okay.
But a lot of, you know, unfortunately, a lot of shops like that will kind of have to evaporate or close down because people move on. You don't got enough people to make rent, all that. So we're
Sure.
very fortunate, you know, and I don't
Yeah.
ever take that shit for granted. It's great.
That's awesome. Having all the people, are we going to see another swap meet coming up? You guys did one
Man,
a
that's a
couple of years
question.
ago. I feel like you guys have enough of a presence that y'all could do an event. I don't know what it would be, a swap meet or just. I know
Totally.
y'all do the annual dojo party, but that would be cool just to kind of.
So that was Dwayne and
Go
Bowles'
through.
deal. They were the backers on that. And that's a question for them. And
Okay,
I
all
have
right.
that same question. Dwayne, when are we doing another swap meet, man? Because those are the best. Like, so many people show up. and
Yeah,
there's
dude,
so
that's
many
cool.
good parts, and it's not a motorcycle party. It's not just like, hey, man, let's fucking slam some beers and get stupid. It's business. You're out there finding parts for your next project, but it's all like-minded people. So you're having a good time. I don't want to say responsibly, but you're having a good time. That's not a fucking party. You're out there. It's like a vintage market, but for
Yeah,
shoppers.
yeah. I mean, with all the vintage markets we have going on, I'm like, okay, come on, like that would be cool. You know, for somebody like me who's kind of new to this and
Yeah,
kind of getting
totally,
into it,
dude.
it's like, oh man, I'd really like some 6-over, forks for my Y Glide. Like that'd be great if
Yeah,
I
you
could
could
find
probably
somebody
find
who's
them.
trying to, get rid of those versus just jumping on the internet and buying
Exactly.
them. You know what I mean?
Exactly, dude.
Or like, man, like my back fender, I want to like dick around with like new designs, either chop the one I have or find another one. And it's just not the same just looking at like pictures
Oh,
on the
yeah,
internet
totally.
versus like, dude, I'm gonna pull my bike over here and I want to like hold this fender up and see
That's
how
why
it
it's
might
so
look.
rad.
And it's like, then I could really like, I don't know. That'd be sick. So.
Well, myself and Dwayne are personally addicted to swap meets. Like that's what we love to do because you're picking something you don't know what you're gonna find,
Yeah.
and you're picking something up. You're holding it in your hand. And you're like, this is the part, dude. You know, I didn't expect to buy this, but I'm gonna use this on something, and that I guess that's what's cool about it. And shit, the last time that they did it at Sloss, there were so many people, dude. People flew in from California. People flew in from freaking Milwaukee, Wisconsin, just to show up and shop around and go home. And
Hey, that's awesome.
yeah,
man.
dude, the just the amount of people that showed up was incredible, and so they could make it bigger and bigger and bigger. It's just organizing shit sucks,
Yeah.
dude. That's
Yeah.
kind of like I've always wanted to do a bike show down here. Like now that I live in Springville, there's that place called Homestead Hollow.
Yeah,
That would be the perfect spot for a
that
bike
would
show.
be sick.
Insane. You could do like an East Coast Born Free there. It's
I
so
thought
nice.
about that. I was like, but would there be enough? I mean, I guess with all your connections and stuff, would there be enough? Like, if you were to put on a bike show, Nick's bike show, whatever we're gonna call it,
I'm confident we can get enough people to show up to make it to cover
to make it cool and,
yeah,
and
or even
have
cover
like,
the cost of renting that place,
Yeah.
which is ungodly expensive. But I don't want to do the organizing. That's what sucks. Like you're organizing this event, it could be cool as hell, epic, but
there's
by
a
the
lot
end
of
it,
work that
oh,
goes
man,
into
you're
the
just
background.
so tired.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to hang out and party.
Yeah.
Like, I want to hang out. I want to be part of the bike show. I want to do this and that. I want to be running around.
Making
friggin-
sure all the
Yeah,
everything's
dude,
run
dealing with
perfectly.
some cop or something, making sure that everything's okay and we're following the rules. Fuck that, dude. I want that to be someone else's responsibility.
All right, well, somebody step up.
Yeah,
Be
I know,
cool.
right?
I would go.
Somebody,
That'd
not
be awesome.
us.
Step
We
up
would-
before
hey,
I do. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't want to, but I will. Like, damn it. I like being part of the action.
Yeah, nobody wants to be responsible. I get it. That's a lot of work. I would
You got another one of
imagine.
these cold boys back there.
Dude, I got several, man.
Nice.
So this is the first time you've been invited to build a quote unquote show bike.
Mm-hmm.
Mama Tried is another big show, and it's huge. It seems
Yeah, it's
like.
big.
How does that compare to how long has Mama Tried been going on? Do you know?
I want to say it's getting close to 10 as well.
So a lot of this, it's like we're still in a decade when it comes to like Born Free 14. I would imagine
Yeah.
14 years, and then Mama Tried, 10 years. So it's not like these shows have been around for like 30 years, 50 years,
Yeah.
anything like that. Maybe there are shows out there that are.
Born Free's first one was 2009. It was in a parking lot. In,
Wow.
in
It's
Southern
just
California.
exploded.
Oh yeah, and
So the
second one-
appetite is there, man. You
Dude,
could
within
do.
a year. We rode to the second one, and that was in Signal Hill in Long Beach, and they had to shut down the streets. It was fucking insane, and that was number 2. That was in 2010.
Is there anything in the southeast that compares?
Well, I mean, if you go to Daytona, there's a bunch of shows. There's like the Willie's show and the Choppers Magazine show and all that, but nothing to that magnitude.
Okay.
I mean, you got to think too. Southern California is the mecca. That's
Sure.
the motherland of this
Of
culture.
skateboarding and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool cars, cool bikes, all that, and so that's why there's so many people out there, and the fact that it's the biggest show. It's the biggest motorcycle show there is. So, or in our scene, anyways. That's why it is what it is.
I guess you've been to Mama Tried.
Oh yeah, I've been to everyone, or I think I missed one. I missed the Mama Tried that got canceled when COVID hit, but I've been to every other one of those, and they're cool. It's a badass show, completely different vibe, completely different type of show.
It looks more. How do I say this? Have you seen the Mama Tried videos or any stuff like that? It's very polished. It's
Yes.
very like high end. Still rad choppers, but it's like it doesn't have the same vibe that you get at maybe like a Born Free.
No,
I've
it's
never been to
completely
either
different.
one, so I don't know.
No,
I'm
it's
just
completely
guessing.
different, and they hold it in February in Milwaukee, so it's in the middle of winter,
Freezing
and so
cold.
it's inside, and it's in the
It's like a big shipyard or something.
yeah.
like that.
No, it's a venue called the Rave, Eagles Ballroom. So if you look that up, like Slayers played there, and fucking all these big giant bands play there, and where the bands play, it's all cleared out, and that's where the bikes are, and it's from the fucking. If it's not from the 1800s, it's from the early.
It's
1900s.
old, dude.
It's
Yeah.
sick, dude. It's so rad.
And there's so many bikes
Oh,
too.
dude.
Like versus having 20 builders at Born Free. This is, I mean, I'm only guessing, but it's like hundreds of bikes
It
that have been
seems like
invited.
it, dude. It's got to be pushing 70, I would guess, because it's an invitational show. So, and they're not the bikes that show up there. It could be anything.
Mhm.
It's whoever Scott and Warren decide those are the two guys that put the show on. They invite the bikes. Like, so you could have a 60s traditional chopper there right next to a fucking Larry and Tyser snowmobile. You know, it's whatever they think is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And that's what's rad about it. It's everyone that's stoked on motors and two wheels are there together. It's not, there's no fucking cool guying up there. It's rad. And you're in the motherland of Harley Davidson. So it's, you know, they play a big factor in that too. It's fucking great.
I was watching a video last night about Mama Tried, and they're interviewing. It's like some 2-hour video, but they're going through and interviewing all the individual builders and stuff. And one thing I thought was cool, they had the guy who he owned the Fonzie bike from the first season.
Dude.
That
Oh my
knucklehead, dude.
Oh my God.
And he talked about, he was like, yeah, Henry Winkler, when he could never really get the hang of this bike and his handlers, and you probably already know all this,
Dude.
but it was all news to me. And after that first season, he swapped and rode a Triumph for the rest of the show.
Mhm.
But that first, what was the show?
Happy Days.
Happy Days. Yeah. Ron Howard and all that. But he rode that knucklehead, and so I don't know how he managed to find it, but I think there were like 2 of them maybe, and he found one that was also ridden by Clint Eastwood in a movie.
Yeah.
But he was like, so I had to kind of pick if I wanted to go the Happy Days route
a
or
hard
try
decision.
to, you know, and he was like, well, it was used more in Happy Days, and it was the first season, which I thought was so cool.
Yeah.
And it's a knucklehead, and
Dude,
that's so
I've,
rad.
you know, it's funny, but I was going to bring that up when you asked about Mama Tried, because I've always loved that bike. Like, when it was in Happy Days, I've always loved it. Like, I have a picture of it, you know, at my house.
The Fonz, man.
Yeah, with all them standing around it and Fonz is on it. I've drooled over that bike. My 47, my black knucklehead that I ride a lot, it originally had a 47 Springer on it. I put a wide glide front end on it because of the Fonzie bike. I'm like, that look is so fucking
Yeah,
sick.
dude.
So I did it, whatever. Still love that bike. So we're loading Dwayne's bike in. And I see that bike there, and I'm like, wow. look
Oh,
at this
you
thing.
actually saw the
Saw it in
bike.
person.
Yeah. Oh,
And
that's
I'm
cool.
walking up, and I'm like, look at this fucking bike. Holy shit. They did a really good job replicating this motorcycle. And I know this bike. You know, I know this fucking bike.
You're
And I'm
like, dude, and they got the wiring
Yeah,
and, and the tabs all match. And,
Yeah, exactly.
And you're pulling up the pictures on your phone.
Dude, it's like the Easy Rider bike that's been
Yeah,
replicated a ton.
yeah.
But unless you're a really big fan, you don't know. Like,
All the subtle.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's not a 49 frame. That's not raked right. That's not, you know,
Yeah.
the Fonzie bike. I'm looking it over and I'm like, this fucking thing, they did a fucking great job. And the guy had a big cutout of Fonzie behind it.
Yeah, you had this,
And,
the cardboard thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like we get Dwayne's bike set up, walk away, and Warren's like, I run into Warren. We're talking about some shit. I was like, dude, I saw that Fonzie bike. That dude did a really good job on it. And he goes, oh yeah, that's the one. That's the Fonzie bike. I'm like, the one from the show? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I didn't think that thing fucking existed anymore.
Yeah.
He goes, yeah, that so and so has it. Like, no way. So I was just drooling over the actual Fonzie bike.
Did you talk to the dude?
No, I didn't talk to the dude, but because that weekend gets pretty hectic and you get lost in the sea of shit. But the fact that I saw that bike in person and had no idea that it was the real McCoy, I'm like, holy shit!
That's
It
awesome.
was such a cool.
That's
bike
so
in person.
random. Like I was just randomly watching that, and I was like, "That's pretty cool, the Fonzie bike, man." And he was like, "Yeah, they only rode it for the first season, and I guess the Triumph was smaller. I don't know how tall Henry Winkler is,
Oh,
but
he's a tiny dude.
yeah,
He is a
yeah.
tiny guy. I've seen him in person.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was at the World of Wheels one year, and they had the Triumph there, and it was sick. The Triumph was really cool.
Was he signing autographs and stuff?
Yeah,
or
he was signing autographs and shit.
World of Wheels.
And you know,
Henry
he's
Winkler was there.
fucking. I mean, this was probably hell, dude. 15 years ago or so.
Yeah.
But we're at Larry from Garage Company Customs booth hanging out, and Henry Winkler's walking around, and of course he's getting the hey from
Yeah.
all these people, and he walks by, and Nasty Nick of all people sees him. He goes, "Mr. Coach Klein," and the dude just got fucking pissed and walked off. It was so sick.
Mr. Coach Klein. Yeah. Dude, he's got a good career, man.
But he's this tall.
Really?
He's a fucking little dude, man. You could pick his ass up and throw him over a fence, no problem.
The Fonzie bike. That would have been cool to see in person. It's
Yeah.
pretty rad. So Born Free, is it a competition? Is it just a show? Is there a winner?
Yeah, they have
Wha-
awards. They have
okay.
awards. They have, you know, best knuckle pan, shovelhead, best of show, people's choice.
Okay.
They got all kinds of shit like
And I
that.
forgot, Dwayne did Mama Tried.
Mhm.
He took a panhead that he built.
Yeah.
Was that the one with the Haints emblem on the
yeah.
tank? And he won something, right? I don't know if he won, like,
You know,
I thought he had some award that he
Mama
may have
Tried
posted
was a
about.
blur, so I cannot say for sure that
Okay.
what he won there. But he did take best of show at the Texas Fandango.
Okay, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. He was outside somewhere, and he's like, "Oh,
That was Texas Fandango. That was cool. Which was funny because I'm gonna embarrass him. He was taking a shit in the fucking porta potty when they called his name.
Oh damn!
And I was like, dude, fuck. Dude,
Hitch it off, man. You gotta go."
Because he's far away, and it's so at Mama Tried, a lot of people it turned into an inside joke between me and Dwayne because a lot of people think my last name is Haynes because on Instagram it's Nick Haynes.
Nick Haynes, yeah.
So people were coming up to my booth going, "Hey man, I love your bike," and I'm like, "My bike? What are you talking about?" "Yeah, the one with the Haynes on the tape."
Haynes, bro, right there.
That's my friend Dwayne's. He built that. And they're like, "Oh, okay." And then it happens so often.
You're like, that doesn't make any sense. Whatever.
Dude, yes, it happens.
Built
so
a
often.
tank with his buddy's last name on it.
We started figuring out that people thought it was my bike because they thought my last name was Haynes. And Dwayne's sitting there like, "God damn." I'm like, "Fuck, dude." So it was like a laughable matter. And then when he won the Best of Show at the Texas Fandango, he's pooping. And then I'm like, dude, if I have to push his bike up front, it's gonna add.
That's gonna be the photo. That's gonna be everywhere.
It's gonna add to that, and I'm like, fuck. And they're like, "Where is he at? Dwayne Boatwright, where is he at? Push the bike up here." He's nowhere to be found. I'm like, fuck. So I went and got the bike, and I had to push it up there. And here he comes running. I'm like,
"Get your ass up here,
dude! Take it! Like I can't. They can't think it's my bike again." And he was just laughing. It was great.
That's funny. The Texas Fandango. Yeah,
That was a
on
cool
my
fucking
radar.
trip, dude. Or that was a cool show. That thing was awesome. Texas is a different place, and it is fucking rad.
Now, where were you 2 weeks ago? Randomly last night, I was just like surfing through YouTube, and I found you did a podcast with Danger Dan.
That was at Mama Tried.
That was at Mama Tried.
Yeah.
So Mama Tried just happened.
Yeah, it happened in February, end of February. But they just released the podcast.
Oh, okay. I was like, well, this shit just hit the internet. So what am I missing
they're
here?
YouTube ones, so like you could actually watch those
Yeah.
podcasts. So they
Much
just
like anyone listening to this
Yeah,
podcast,
exactly,
we're on
exactly.
YouTube, and you can see all the shenanigans that are going on. But
Similar
yeah,
to
I thought
that.
that was cool. Like it was just new information, and Jeremiah was on there, who's
Yeah.
also been on here, and
Well, we
kind of
didn't know
talking
we were
about how
doing
y'all
it.
met and all that
We
stuff.
had no idea that we were doing it.
Well, you were just like sitting there, and kinda, I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot.
No,
but
no,
you
totally. I'll
definitely
tell
looked
the
out
whole
of your
story,
element.
dude.
Yeah.
I'll tell the whole story because Dan's our fucking homie. Dan's a real ass dude. He's cool as fuck. So he rode to Daytona with us a few years ago, and that's how we got to know him, and friends for life. But he comes
I
up.
like
to us
his
and-
suit he was wearing
Oh,
too,
dude.
man. That shit. Check
He
it
got
out,
that thing in Kathmandu.
dude. It looked good, bro. He was rocking it.
But he came up to me and Jeremiah, and he's like, "Hey, you guys are on my podcast tomorrow, like on Saturday. You guys are on my podcast tomorrow, 1:00 p.m." I'm like, "What? We don't want to do a podcast, dude. We're fucking. I gotta work. Like, I'm trying to sell some T-shirts and hats and."
So you just set up a little studio or something?
Yeah, down in the green room of the rave. Like,
Okay.
this place is huge. So the green room where all the bands. That's where his podcast studio was at. And Dan walks off. He's like, "You're doing it. Deal with it." And so me
Deal
and
with it.
Jeremiah are just like, "We don't want to do that." And Jerry's like,
Sure you do, man. Come on.
Jerry's like, what do we do? I'm like, "Here's what we do. We'll just try to make it hard on Dan. We'll just take a bunch of mushrooms 45 minutes before we go on there, and then he will just have to deal with us." That's a fucking great idea. Let's do it.
Okay.
So we did that. We, it was like 12:15. We're like, "All right, dude." So we take, a handful. Yeah. And then we're like, "We got to go find this place." And we're like, "We got to put sunglasses on because these lights in here are getting kind of weird."
Oh,
So
dude.
we're walking through. We're walking
I'm
through
gonna
like
put-
this. In Mama Tried, it's super crowded. There's
Yeah.
people everywhere. And I get to the point where I'm just laughing. Just my stupid gold tooth fucking smiling at
I
people.
dig that, man. That's
And I remember my hands getting a little tingly and numb, and I was like, "Oh, buddy, they're kicking in." And Jeremiah's just looking straight. He's like, "I need a beer." Like, so we go into where the podcast is at, and it's super dark, and wait here. He's interviewing someone right now. You guys will be right up. And I remember being in this room, and Jake from Prism Supply is sitting right next to us, and it's to the point where we're giggling because those mushrooms are working, and like, "Oh, I need a beer, whatever. This is stupid." And then directly across from us, a door opens up, and a Japanese geisha walks out the door, fucking full blown gear.
Like,
painted-
you're seeing that, right?
Oh,
this is happening?
Is this just in my head?
Wooden shoes, the whole getup. And I'm like, I'm just frozen. And I just watch this lady walk out of the room.
With the white paint and everything? Everything.
So gnarly. And then takes a right, and she's gone. And I'm just sitting there, and Jeremiah's kind of elbowing me, and I'm not looking away. And then Jake, luckily, he's a pretty straight lace guy, kind of, hey guys, I'm not on drugs or anything, but I saw that. That was weird. I'm like, thank you. That was
Dude.
real. That was
Because
real.
y'all are just like, bro,
Yeah,
we're sharing the same hallucination. right now.
But then Dan comes in. He's like, all right, you boys are up, and he just. Yeah, I watched the video afterwards, and I was like, I thought we played it cool, but you could tell we were intoxicated on that thing.
There's a screenshot I'm going to put up of you just sitting there where the camera, for whatever reason, was just locked on you, and you weren't even talking. I think Dan and Jeremiah were talking, and you were just sitting there. And it was so funny, and I didn't quite know what was going on. I was like, he's either pissed to be there or something's going on. I couldn't quite tell, but
It was a good time, though.
Now it makes sense.
Dude, the podcast was that long. Before you knew it, Dan was like, "Oh, we did an hour. Get out of here!" Like, "Oh, really?" Like,
It flies by, man. I don't even know how long we've been talking here, but
it was cool because we were trying to be bad boys, so we're in this nice place that people like us shouldn't even be in there. But I'm like, man, I'm gonna just start ripping cigarettes, and so I started lighting up.
I saw that.
And then Dan's like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." He starts smoking, and we're just like, I don't know. We got the Dan tried to dose us with some THC beers that Heavy makes, and Jeremiah caught it.
Yeah,
he was like, let's not drink those, and we gave them to the camera guys. And the camera guys got super high off of those, and they're like super quiet the whole time. And yeah, these work.
Yeah,
they'll sneak up on you. We had somebody. There's a local company in town that gifted us some of those, and they're like, "Hey, talk about this on the podcast." And it was like the super heavy THC Delta 9000, 100 milligram, whatever, and like I broke it out, and I think we had Hunter on, and I was like, so we got, and he was like, Hunter, what that?
Yeah.
And so we're like, oh, okay, all right, this is dangerous. And he's like, yes. He's like, you will trip. Don't.
Dude, I like having a good time. I'm not trying to do stuff like that at all.
Amen.
I like to drink some beers.
Dude, that's about all I can do, man. I used to love weed, but like, I don't know. As I got older, it started not being fun anymore. It's like just gave me anxiety, and I was like, okay, this isn't.
It's got its right application.
Dig
that's
it.
the way I look at it. Like, I like to smoke a little weed when I'm by myself, hanging out, chilling. If I'm
no responsibilities, I got the evening off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, riding my bike to a hill and hang out for a little bit. But yeah, I don't do weed very well.
I've got a couple of friends. I think you know Randy Wade.
Yeah,
you know
very
him?
well.
He's the same way. I had this conversation with him. We go way back, and I was like, "Man, do you still like weed?" And he's like, "Nah, man."
Do you still like weed?
Do you still like the weed, the marijuana?
Devil's lettuce.
Because he used to love it, and even in college and stuff, I was like, "Dude, I'm not really feeling this anymore. Like, it's not as fun like as it was in high school."
Well, you're a bunch of dumbasses getting stoned to the bone, not pissing your pants in your parents' basement.
Yeah, I just no responsibilities. I guess I don't have to worry about anything. But then I don't know. And he was the same way. He was like, yeah, it doesn't jive with me anymore.
It's got its time and its place. Yeah. It really does.
I guess that's fair. Maybe there's a special time where I'm like, I'm going to smoke this joint.
Yeah, for sure. There's a time and a place. Like, I mean, other than that, you're going to be a fucking walking ball of clay.
So stay away from the liquid THC.
Yeah, totally.
Well, yeah, man, you got the bike done. Born Free is when are you heading out? Maybe you already said this earlier.
Yeah, I'm gonna head out June 18th.
June 18th.
I got to be there, whatever that Thursday is. I think it's the 22nd, but I got to be there by 4 p.m. That's like the deadline.
So to drive it, you can just hit the highways and stuff.
Yeah,
I guess you can do it in like a
I-40.
couple of days.
I'm taking my wife with me.
Okay, cool.
So we're gonna I have my van rigged up with a bed inside and all that. So we're gonna camp the whole way, and when we get there, do the show, she flies home, and then I'm going to be a support vehicle for the dudes that rode. So I'm going to follow them back, whatever route they take, whether if they want to go to Colorado, whatever. So I'll be with them the whole way, camping alongside them, whatever 2-lane they're going. Take another week getting home. If they need tools or whatever support they need, I'll be there. So it'll be a second vacation on the way home, which is cool.
Dude, that'll be super fun, man. Well, dude, it is always fun catching up and talking bikes and stuff. What little I know, I'm learning. So, but yeah, man, I wish you all the best. At the time of this recording, maybe we'll know the outcome. It'll come out before then.
Yeah.
Chopper Fest is next week, so we've got a while. So yeah,
Born Free is like the 23rd and 24th, I believe. So maybe I got to be there on the 21st. Hell, I don't know. I got to get my shit straight.
Gotta get it straight, man. Can't mess it up. First show bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, dude, it's always awesome talking to you. Thanks for coming, man. It's been
Thanks for having me again.
That's it.